13. He's given time. He wants Jefferson. Climbs the.
I feel like it is very great to have Kirk Cousins as the ending of our intro based off of how he did last week. Welcome to Moving the Chains here on Team NBS Media. I am Ashmir. And everyone, please take care of yourselves because I'm congested. Probably everybody is feeling that way. I'm glad to be back with my guys, and we have a very fun show for you all today. So let me bring in the squad. Good morning, Jeff and Joe. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning, everybody.
You know, I'm on the injured list, but I'm probable. I guess I'm making it to the show, right?
Yeah, I'm on the same list.
I feel great.
Good thing we're virtual. So we have a very exciting set of games today. I think there's obviously one most exciting for the Bay Area because it's a home game. They're returning. But we're not going to kick it off with that one. We're actually going to start with a battle of probable defensive and offensive tragedies, if you want to put it that way. We've got the Jags and the Steelers facing off today. And I think this is a very crucial game for Trevor Lawrence because he has that knee injury and the Steelers defense is not forgiving. So I'm curious, everyone, let me know what your predictions are and just how do you think the Jags can pull away with the win? Because they really need one.
I think Jacksonville's been playing really good football, especially when they went to Europe. We talked about the last couple of shows that the best team in Europe is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the key for them is to keep Travis Lawrence healthy, wearing that knee brace again, especially wet and rainy out there in Pittsburgh. You just hope no bad slips or missteps from him. I think they have to rely heavy on Travis Etienne. With that being said, though, if you follow NFL football, you know that Travis Etienne sometimes has a propensity to drop the ball and have fumbles. So you got to hope he's short-handed. I think if they can rely on their running game and their defense continues to improve, Jacksonville might be able to squeak this one out on the road, maybe. But it definitely depends on Trevor Lawrence playing all fourth quarters.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, the difference in between these two teams is a half a game, basically, one win. You know, both of these teams have 2 losses. You know, Jacksonville leads their division 5-2. Pittsburgh is in a muddle at the top of their division at 4-2. And you have to really look at these two teams. Jacksonville, you've had some impressive wins. The losses kind of look bad. The Steelers, on the other hand, look bad, but are still winning. Okay, you don't really look at a lot of Steelers games and go, I feel really confident about this win. No, they're just finding ways to muddle through wins. So, there's times when you're picking against Pittsburgh going, no, they're not going to win this game. And they pull it out and go, how'd they do it? I think their most impressive win was last week against the Rams. So I think when you look at these two teams, who do you trust more? Do you trust Jacksonville, who's played very well, albeit most of them have been overseas, but for the most part, when they're here, they've played pretty well. They've had the 2 losses, which I think they didn't look great in those 2 games, but they've had some pretty favorable matchups, and they've come out on top. Pittsburgh, in games where you thought they performed better, they haven't, but somehow they're pulling games out. The Baltimore game should have been a loss. Baltimore gave them enough to come back and take that game from them. So I'm really looking at this game worried about Pittsburgh. Do you play well enough to beat a Jacksonville team, or are you going to play like you played these first 6 games and Jacksonville can pull this game out?
Yeah, I think expectations for Kenny Pickett, I don't know what yours were, but I definitely predicted for him to have a very stellar season just based off of how they closed out last year and just the progress he made in the offseason. And I think we can all agree it's been short of that. So this matchup is definitely a test for him. I think Deontay Johnson is returning, so that can help him in the passing game. And I believe Jacksonville has one of the worst pass rushing defenses in the league. So that game against the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr is supposed to have the easiest schedule in the NFL, and for you to still allow him the possibility of winning, even though they pulled out a win, I think this could also be true today. This could really give the Steelers that confidence boost to take away a win with an injured Trevor Lawrence. So I want to understand too. What are your expectations for Kenny Pickett? Did you guys have high hopes for him this year?
I did. I thought he was going to light it up, but it's been, like you said, it's been anything but that. So I think now you just I'm waiting for Kenny Pickett to figure out what he wants to do this season as far as just being consistent. I know that he's been running for his life a lot of games, and the running game with Najee Harris hasn't been great. But I'm with you, Ashmere. I thought this guy was, 3,000 yards passing. He might have 30 touchdowns. Their offense is going to be great. And it's been anything but that. I think he needs to figure it out and figure it out quick. I mean, their season's not over by any stretch of the imagination. But it's definitely time he starts turning things around and kind of being that offensive player we thought he was going to be. And for Jacksonville, this win's really important because the Houston Texans are playing great football. They're right on your tail. I mean, I know they're only at 500, but a Jacksonville win here, you can really cement yourself as like the kings of the AFC South and kind of get things rolling that way. But yeah, I think the Kenny Pickett, got to figure out what you want to do, man. Getting one of your weapons back would definitely help you. If they could get a running game started, that would help them a lot. But I think Kenny Pickett so far has fallen short of expectations.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Ashby.
No, go ahead. I was just saying that running game is nearly invisible.
And I think that was the magic word, consistency. You wanted to see a consistent Kenny Pickett that you didn't see as a rookie. You saw an improving player as a rookie, but you wanted to see the improvement to the point this year in his sophomore season, a consistent quarterback, making quality decisions with the football and making the throws that you know he can make. Now, it's hard on a young quarterback when you don't have a consistent running game. The Pittsburgh Steelers haven't had that in a couple of years, and that's part of the problem. You want to see growth from the kid, you got to help him out with a running game. They don't seem to get that going. I don't know if it's whether they haven't been able to get the right combination of the offensive line. I don't know if it's Matt Canada's play calling. I don't know what the issue is in Pittsburgh, but until they get that running game fixed, I think you're going to see inconsistency from Pickett because there's going to be times when he has to do way too much with too little.
Yeah, it's been tough. I think also Najee, expectations super high. I think if anybody plays fantasy football in the last 2 years, they're confused why they're wasting your time on him. So I'm hoping a Jaguars win just because I like to see them carry on in the division and take this through. But I was rooting for Kenny from the beginning. So either way, this is going to be a kind of a low-key bloodbath in the sense of what happens. Let's roll into our next matchup, and I think this one is also exciting. A lot of these games are like very strange matchups, but there's so many different complications within each team that you don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to talk about Seattle taking on the Browns without Deshaun Watson. Once again, PJ Walker gets to start, and although he's not a pro football player, whatever titles people want to give that guy, I think he's doing a great job for what he's been given. Okay. And this matchup is no different. I think Browns could take this away. That defense is disgusting. Geno has to protect himself at all times. Seattle really needs to take care of him. And let me hear it. Jeff, let me know what's going on here.
Well, you just said that once again, the key word is that Browns defense. They can't have another performance like they did last week against the Colts. They expect to pull out another win. That was a gift last week. You got the calls when you needed them to get that win last week. But you can't do that 2 weeks in a row. You need that defense to stand up and shut down this Seattle offense and make it easier on P.J. Walker and this offense. You're ready without Nick Chubb. Now Ford, who's your next most explosive running back, is possibly out for this game as well. So you want to make it easier on this quarterback? Your defense has to play the way they did against San Francisco. Shut down Geno Smith in his passing game. Shut down Kenneth Walker in the running game. Hold them to 17 points or less and make sure your offense is just enough to win this game. But you're not going to be able to go out there and give up 30 points and beat Seattle. That's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, we already know that Seattle is one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, if not the toughest. I mean, it's just incredibly loud there. But like you said, Ashman, when you got a disgusting defense that travels, the Browns can make this game ugly. I mean, you asked them to do a lot on the defensive side. You asked them to stop Walker and the running game, DK Metcalf, and the rest of those receivers in Seattle, stop them as well. But if you can get Geno to give you a couple of picks or get a fumble here and there and make the game ugly and really put the pressure on your defense, maybe Cleveland can sneak this one out. I mean, kind of like our first matchup, I think this is going to be another one of those defensive battles. But I will say that obviously if Cleveland's defense doesn't show up, they can get rolled today and end up losing really, really badly. Hope that doesn't happen. But I just think it's all about the Cleveland Browns defense. If they can keep the Seahawks offense in check, this game could be a lot closer than most people think it's going to be.
Going to Seattle is one of my biggest fears as a fan or as a player. I went to a game there for college, and I don't want to be there again. And I was not even a player, so I can understand 100% how you're explaining going into that stadium. The fans are mean. I mean, if you're a Seattle fan, I don't really care. Sorry, I'm gonna say it. But the entire atmosphere is very intimidating, and so are the Browns defense. So I think that if they can take advantage of what they've built on these past 7 weeks and carry that and attack Geno at all costs, because Geno's kind of lighting things up on the offensive side. He's got 2 insane receivers, and just stopping them, on any type of deep ball passes, anything that gives them an exciting moment that they could carry into the entire game. I don't think the Browns win this one. I'm just going to keep it real. I think Geno pulls it off, some type of late field goal action, and it's going to be a muddy offensive performance from the Browns.
I think Cleveland can pull it off. Just got to make the game ugly. Just got to make it ugly. If they don't make it ugly, it's going to be one of those games where we're just going to look at the score every once in a while, but you're not going to watch it because it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah. I mean, unless they're within a touchdown of each other, that'll keep it exciting. But otherwise, it could be a total Seattle rollout, as Greg has said here. The final game, I think, is a very nerve-wracking one, in my opinion, just because when you hear a player coming off a concussion protocol and they're potentially going to take the field, not my favorite idea. If you've guessed it, we're talking about the Niners taking on the Cincinnati Bengals here in Levi Stadium. And I want to know, first off, do you both agree with the call to start Brock today?
Ooh, Jeff is a football coach. I'll let him go first on that one. But I think that I'll say this much. He went through the protocol. If you did the protocols and you followed everything to the letter of the law, as the NFL says, and I say, let Brock Purdy go ahead and start. I would think with everything we saw last season from Tua and others that the 49ers wouldn't put him in harm's way and wouldn't just kind of go through the motions with that. If they say he's healthy and he can play, then he's healthy and he can play. I think they would have been just fine with Sam Darnold either way. But just something to keep track of earlier on. I mean, if Brock's getting hit and getting banged around, we got to kind of pay attention to see how he reacts to that before we make a decision.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. He played last Sunday. He went into protocol during the week. Somehow he clears protocol before the game this week. And you're going to start him. If you have a capable backup, you have no problem sitting him out this week and going to get the win and going back out there next week with your healthy starter. Clear of concussion protocol, fully clear, ready to go the rest of the way. So not only does this tell you something about Brock Purdy and what they think of Brock Purdy, it also tells you what they believe about Sam Darnold. Okay? Sam Darnold is a quality backup. Keyword is quality. Okay? But the problem is you need a win. You have 2 losses that you didn't expect. You need a win. They don't trust him to get a win this week. That's why they're putting him out there in this situation. I think it's dangerous. And I'm going to say it because, plain and simple, we saw it with Tua. Granted, he's had a lot more concussions. But when you're back-to-back, right behind each other, with concussions, they get worse. So if you have the chance to protect the player and you believe you have a quality backup, start the backup. The fact that they're really pushing for the win says a lot. So, I don't think they have all the faith that a lot of people have in, of course, Sam Darnold, but it says a lot that they're pushing for this win. They don't believe they're going to get it without Brock Purdy.
We're all watching SportsCenter. We've seen the graphics that they put out. When they replay Brock getting hit and then the stats before the hit, after the hit, I feel like that already justifies him not playing. I understand losing 3 in a row. That's not the way that they want to go right now, but I definitely think that it's a risky move, just like Jeff said, how we saw with Tua last year. I honestly also believe like Brock doesn't want to be talked about in this negative fashion that he's been talked about, losing 3 in a row, starting hot 5-game winning streak. There's just so many pros and cons. Was it too risky to trade Trey Lance this early when Brock is still making mistakes and it's only year 2? And there's just so many headlines that can follow along with that. But I think, again, this comes down to the 49ers defense. They really need to take advantage of being at home, being like within that energy and dominating the Bengals offense. Like if Jamar Chase has 2 touchdowns, sayonara. This game is written up. It's a Niners loss. And I feel like that is a high possibility. Like Joe Burrow finally got the Cincinnati offense moving. There's a lot of good things. Everyone's clicking. Obviously he was injured, but now he's at 100%, and now Brock is not at 100%, right? I feel like Cincinnati has a lot of advantages, and the one main advantage the Niners have are being at home.
Yeah, I think for Cincinnati, you got to be excited. I mean, you're at 500 after that rocky start. This is as healthy as Joe Burrow's been all year. I think all the stars are aligned for Cincinnati to kind of get the job done. And the Bengals defense is not half bad either. Always tough to win games in a row, but I'm with Ashmere. If the Cincinnati Bengals could jump on them and jump on them early, I think San Francisco starts pushing and starts maybe Brock's making passes he shouldn't make, but he's just trying to make a play and get things started. And God forbid he gets injured and gets out the game. It's a whole different conversation. But I think the pressure in this game is definitely on San Francisco to stop the bleeding, get a W. And if you're the Bengals, you want to keep on rolling. The fight was to get to 500. People are like, oh, my God, the sky is falling. Cincinnati's off to this horrible start. If you can go on the road and win in San Francisco, this is the same Bengals team we saw that made that run in the playoffs last year, coming back at you again.
Indeed. And once again, it comes back to what do you believe? If you believe he's healthy, and you're going to put him out there against a Cincinnati pass rush that's pretty decent, well, then you better be able to protect him. Trent Williams still not 100%, even if he does play. Christian McCaffrey's playing through injury, if he does play. Deebo Samuel playing through injury, if he does play. These guys are not 100%. Your playmakers are hurt. Your main pass protector is not 100%. Do you really want to put him out in this situation? So they're willing to do it. They're willing to go all in just to get this losing streak over with. So they better be right on this one, because there's a whole lot of fingers pointing back at them if they're wrong.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Monday morning quarterbacks will like eat them alive.
Yeah, and the tragedy that exists when the 49ers QB roulette that they've been going through the past couple years, let's just hope Brock is not a part of that entire problem. So we've got a cool segment that we want to talk about. Tuesday, everyone knows it's Halloween, and the trade deadline for the NFL. So we've got to talk about what's going on.
Teams are always looking for that winning formula. As the trade deadline approaches, there are a lot of rumors about who's going where and which teams are ready to move on from which players. With all the rumors and innuendo going around, it leaves you to ask, which teams are ready to make a move? Which teams are desperate enough to give up the house for a player that could potentially get them over the hump or make no impact at all? These are the questions we're going to look at and answer as we talk about the trade deadline that's looming this week. Teams are anxious, so are fans.
I mean, I think we're all pretty anxious. And the last headline is the one I've been saying since week 5 when I asked you that. I was like, when and where is Derrick Henry going? Because he is their prime prize right now in Tennessee. It's very obvious that they're not going to make a run in the rest of the season. It's too clunky out there. And I need to know, do you both believe this is going to be a trade possibility or not?
I did earlier in the season, but now I kind of feel like no. From what I've been seeing online from people is that Tennessee is kind of going to stick with what they have. DeAndre Hopkins is not to spin the trading block. But we've heard that before. I think if I'm Tennessee, I'm with you, Ashmere. You got to move them. I mean, your season's kind of done. I mean, I've been saying for years that Ryan Tannehill owes every dime he's made to Derrick Henry, making him look like a Pro Bowl quarterback. And we see time and time again, he is just not that guy. But I think from Tennessee, it's time to start thinking about how do we get this thing back on track and kind of get us back into being playoff contenders or one of the more elite teams in the NFL. And one of your biggest pieces is Derrick Henry. You move him, get some draft capital. Who's interested in him? There's a ton of teams that could use a running back. I think he'd fit great in Baltimore. Think about that Baltimore style offense they run with Lamar Jackson. That'd be a great pickup for them. I think that another team that might be looking for a running back as well, don't be surprised if you see the Buffalo Bills maybe make a run at him. I mean, cold weather, who wants to tackle Derrick Henry in December and January? I think the Bills could use somebody like him as well. So I think if I'm Tennessee, I move on.
I totally agree. And I think Baltimore was my number one. I saw an article about the Bucks, which I think that would be weird, enticing. It's a little strange. All right, Jeff, do you think Henry's on the chopping block or not?
As the $1 million man used to say, everybody has a price, right? So for the most part, they don't plan on moving him. But if somebody calls with an outrageous offer because they're desperate, don't be surprised if they pull a deal. Because, like I said, you have a new GM, you have the same head coach, you have a new GM who comes in and he's not married to anybody on this roster. He just had his first draft. For him, it's about getting better as in the next 3 years of whatever his plan is. So while he didn't want to come out there and have a rebuilding year, he's looking at the pieces he has and says, even though I have a couple of guys, I have a limited deck. Am I going to be able to compete with this year? No. But like Dallas did with Herschel Walker, somebody comes to me with an outrageous deal, I'll take it. All right? So guess what? Titans fans, he's probably not going anywhere. But let's say Baltimore, who's not known for doing that, gives you the house.
Mm-hmm.
Or those Dallas Cowboys feel that, they're one really outrageous back away from being back in the contention, decide to give you a ridiculous deal. He's out of there. Because that GM's going to say, I can rebuild my team a lot faster with all the stuff that they're offering. So I don't think he moves, but never rule out the fact that there's always somebody willing to say, I have a price that you can't ignore.
Yeah, honestly, that's a stellar explanation. I don't think I could top that. But I do want to hear who you think is possibly on the chopping block.
In that clip, we saw Chase. I'm drawing blanks on names. I'm getting old. Sorry, folks. Chase Young was in the clip, but I think his counterpart, Montez Sweat, is the guy that moves before Tuesday. Both of these guys are young pass rushers who are excellent. Listen, I don't think it's the players in Washington. I'll be honest with you. I think that plain and simple that DC just isn't what he used to be. You have all this talent, you still can't make it work. I think that DC is what it used to be. I'm going to go with Montez Sweat moving before the deadline. I think Chase Young will stick around because nobody's going to give up what you would have to give up for a former first-round pick that was basically number one overall. But Montez Sweat probably comes with a little more affordable tag as far as trade bait. So I think Sweat moves, Young stays.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think the Sweat moves as well. I mean, one thing people got to remember is Washington has a brand new ownership group. And like Jeff was saying about Tennessee's GM, Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, and the crew have no ties to anybody on the Washington Commanders. So don't think for a second they're not evaluating everything. There's going to be a lot of, we already know here, if you're a DC fan of sports and watch football, there should be a whole lot of changes this offseason. Head coach, defensive coordinator, all that. And why not start the process early? And a quick way to get yourself back on track is draft picks. So I can definitely see them moving Montez Sweat, getting a couple of picks, and kind of getting a jump start on what's going to be a swamp draining this offseason in Washington.
Does that hurt your feelings, Joe?
Nah, Chase Young would because he's a hometown guy. And I think when he got drafted, everybody was so excited to have one of our own actually play for the Commanders. But the expectations were like, this guy's the second coming of Bruce Smith or Lawrence Taylor. Right. And it hasn't been that at all. But I think we're still not ready to give up on him. But to see him traded away would definitely suck because, like Jeff said, basically a number one draft pick overall. You add that into the disaster that was RG3, and man, Washington's not looking so good. Looking so good.
Both of them suffered from early knee injuries.
Yeah.
That affected their careers.
But I think Sweat knows.
You think he thinks he's on the chopping block?
Yeah, I think I would not be surprised at all.
Teams, when it comes to trades, will love affordable trades. So Sweat is a lot more affordable than Young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly think there's going to be not a lot of big name trades, and I think more defensive players moving around just based off of team needs. And like the Bills have a ton of injuries. I feel like they could come calling to anyone in any team that has one player that they think will really help their line. So, Joe, who on your mind is on the chopping block?
Oh, man. I'm going to disagree with Jeff. I still think Derrick Henry goes. I don't think he's in the Tennessee Titan uniform at the end of the day. I think that a team that really feels they're one player away, that player being running back, maybe Buffalo. I mean, think about Buffalo, the championship windows right now. You have all this talent. Maybe you go Los Angeles Rams style and you say F those picks. You give some team a huge deal, and I think that Derrick Henry is on the move. If out of anybody else that's been talked about, I think it's Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I listen. Like I said, everybody has a price, right? I think there's going to be a receiver move somewhere. Now, Denver, who's having one of the weirdest seasons known to man, has a lot of young receivers that maybe they can work out a trade for and get something that Sean Payton can build this team more in his image next year. They're definitely not going to make a run this year. They're definitely not on par with anybody in the upper echelon of the NFC West. They're not better than the Chargers. They're not better than the Chiefs. I don't even know if they're better than the Raiders right now. So basically what you're looking at is Jerry Jeudy, first round pick, has had up and downs. You stick with him, does Sean Payton believe in him? If he doesn't, he's a nice piece to dangle out there before the bait to some young team that's looking for a young receiver, an extra piece. You get something that he can cash in on in the draft next year. Also, you got Tim Patrick out there, a guy who lit it up, got injured last year, comes back this year. Another piece that you could throw out there. Anybody want him? Give me a nice price. I can get something for him next year. Okay? That's where you're looking at it. He's not going to be able to do anything with Russell Wilson. Everybody goes, well, there go Russell Wilson. That contract is too big. He's an older player. He's not going anywhere, Denver fans. Don't even think about saying Russell Wilson. But those young receivers, there are plenty of GMs sitting around with the Mr. Burns look, thinking about a nice package to dangle them out.
Yeah, I've been waiting for someone to say Jerry Jeudy because I think he belongs somewhere where he could be used properly. I love Jerry Jeudy, and I can't believe the Raiders didn't. They just skipped right over him. But that's my own.
Yeah, two more names real quick I'll mention, too, that I think could be on the outs is you got to think about a guy like a Dalvin Cook. You thought about, man, me and Aaron Rodgers, this Jets defense, it's a match made in heaven. Unfortunate injury to Aaron Rodgers, and now you're stuck with Zach Wilson. Yeah, they're fighting and battling every week, and they're staying close in most games except for that Dallas game, but that's not what Dalvin Cook signed up for. So I could see him maybe asking for a move. And then also, even though they're at 500 or have a chance to be at 500, if the Raiders get embarrassed on national TV on Monday, I would not be surprised to see Devontae Adams start to be a little bit louder about this is not what I signed up for either. So just two names to keep in mind, though.
1,000% the Raiders are going to get blown up on Monday. I honestly, when I saw the commercial promoting it, I was like, why did they give the Raiders so many exciting primetime games? Like no one, because Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be throwing the ball. Woo! I don't think that was going to make it any better.
Hating on Jimmy G.
Yeah, whatever. Sorry, I'd be Jimmy G slandering because I think Derek Carr was a clearly better quarterback than him, but he wasn't himself after the injury. 1 and 2, I think he was feeling a little stale, right? And then, of course, the entire Patriots team had to take over the Raiders and the coaching and the people and so on and so forth. But regardless, I still believe Raiders are going to lose on Monday. So that leads me to our favorite rapid fire. We're going to go through all the teams, and you're going to tell me who you think is going to win today. So let's start off with my favorite, just kidding, the Jets and the Giants.
Oh, the Battle of New York. Oh, man.
I'll start that one off. It's going to be quick. Jets, Jets. Right? Neither one of these teams are impressing you, but one is actually ascending and the other one is just floundering. And it ain't the floundering team ain't the Jets, it's the Giants. So
100%.
I'll take the Jets.
Yeah, I'll go Jets with W.
Okay, next week when we come back for our show, we're going to tally our agreement because we have not been doing very well as a team. We've been thinking,
We did pretty good. Last week was all right.
you think we're up 500?
It's when we all agree we got to worry.
Yeah.
We went up 500. It's when we all agree we got to worry. The games we all agreed on were the ones that were going the opposite way. The lone wolves have been paying off. Only one lone wolf lost in the past 2 weeks.
Okay, so we can't be persuaded by one another. This one I do agree is the Jets. Okay, then we've already talked about the Jags and Steelers, but I don't know if we've chosen a winner. I think the Steelers pull this off.
I say Jags.
I'm going to go Jags.
Okay.
But that's a very shaky hold. Because both of these teams will scare you in a tough matchup.
The Eagles and Joe's Commanders.
Hope I'm wrong, but I'll go Eagles. Take off my fan hat and put on my football hat. Eagles.
I think we're all Eagles here.
Yeah, we're all Eagles. I won't say the catchphrase. I'll just say Eagle.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
The Rams and the Cowboys.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
I am too, but if Joe agrees, we might not be.
No, I don't know, man. The Rams are weird. It's like you look at their team on paper, and you're like, oh, this team's not good at all, but they're like in every game. They just find a way to lose it towards the
Cooper
end.
Kupp is unbelievable. So
I'm going to go Rams.
Okay. Vikings and Packers.
After what I saw the other night, I got to go Minnesota.
I'm going to go Minnesota because I don't know what they're doing in Green Bay. They started off so well.
Uh-huh.
And then you watch the wheels fall off week after week, especially with this offense. And we keep talking about guys as offensive gurus. I'm not seeing it. I don't know what's going on there. So until they figure things out, I can't pick the Packers for anything.
All right, we're all Vikings again. Uh-oh, it's looking scary. Falcons and Titans. I think the Falcons can pull this off based off of what we all talked about with Tennessee.
I'm with you.
Is it pulling off?
I say Atlanta might win a blowout in this game.
Yeah.
Because
A
remember,
blowout. Derrick Henry's still running the ball,
but you
okay?
got a rookie quarterback, his first NFL start for Tennessee. You got you have the kid out of Kentucky starting today.
It's a Derrick Henry eating game, which makes his value much higher for that Tuesday trade deadline. Just saying.
This team could have blew out the Bucs last week, but they kept the Bucs in the game with the turnovers. I think they'll make some mistakes that keep Tennessee in the game, but I think Atlanta wins in the end.
Patriots and Dolphins.
I say Miami.
Yeah,
I'm
we're on
Miami.
to a train out here. Saints and Colts. Oh God.
Give me the Colts.
Derek Carr once again.
It has nothing to do with Derek Carr. It has to do with this offense.
No,
it's just the lack of explosiveness with some of the talent they have. There's no excuse for it. You're not going to beat an explosive team with no explosion. I'm past the Saints.
Colts all day, baby. Texans and Panthers. Oh, I'm going with our favorite rookie,
CJ Stroud, baby.
Here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, battle of the rookie QBs. You got to go with CJ Stroud, although the Panthers are going to be coming due for a win soon. So at some point, we're going to have to pick the Panthers because, every game you lose, you get one closer game to win.
That should be their mantra that they put on the locker room.
You don't get too many winless teams. Right? You've had plenty of one-in-something seasons. So at some point, somebody's going to get a win.
Chiefs and Broncos.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Chiefs in the landslide. Even though there's like 12 inches of snow in Denver, I heard. It doesn't matter. That's not going to stop Mahomes and company.
All right, Ravens and Cardinals.
Give me the Ravens. I think the Cardinals are a team that's ascending. They're playing well now. But I think Baltimore, listen, I beat them up last week. I picked against them because I wasn't sure about the offense. They made me out a fool last week.
Who was the lone wolf last week that picked the Ravens? What
Yes,
are
you
you gonna
did. Yes, you did. One day I said, I just don't trust their offense. They go out there and explode. Now, they may go back to being an 18-point offense today, but I think it'll be enough to beat the Cardinals. Barely.
Yeah, I'm Baltimore. I think we're all Ravens here.
Yes. Okay,
A
we
lot of
didn't
agreements.
decide who's winning the Niner game today.
This is tough, man.
When I see this matchup, I get flashbacks of Montana and Esiason. But
You're old.
man, listen, you know what old is? The first Super Bowl I ever watched their first matchup was Ken Anderson and Joe Montana. After, of course, he hits Dwight Clark to beat the Cowboys in the championship game. And I was rooting for Cincinnati since he beat my beloved Cowboys. And it's hard to pick against San Francisco right now. But we're also talking about Joe Burrow and an ascending Cincinnati team. I'm tempted to say Cincinnati and Lone Wolf for them.
Ooh.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to go 49ers. That defense has got to show up, and they cannot be – the stuff they were allowing the Minnesota to do, I hadn't seen a 49ers defense allow in a long time. I think if there's any unit on that team that's kind of like, let's get back on the field and show who we really are, it's the Niner defense. So I'll go with the 49ers at home.
Yeah, earlier I said I don't like to go to the Seattle stadium. I feel like the same is true of 49er stadium. Those fans are hella mean. I never wear any color there because you don't know what is going to happen. They're like nice, but they're not nice. Okay, and then the night game.
Don't go to a Jets game. Jeez, go to an Eagles game.
Oh, yeah, Eagles game.
If I'm neutral, I'm okay with it. But, if you're not, you're not. And then the night game, we got Chargers and the Bears in LA.
Ugh.
Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I go with Chargers because the Bears are starting their rookie quarterback again. That was a great story last week. But I think that Bosa and Mac get after him.
And then Monday night, we're all picking the Lions or what?
Yeah, I think Detroit wins. Another team that got blown out last Sunday. Don't think they don't want to get back on the field and show everybody what they're all about. So, yeah, I go Lions.
It's getting to the point where any matchup against the Raiders is like a fantasy freaking bloodbath. So if you had Dante Foreman last week and he had 3 touchdowns. So I feel like the same is going to be true for any running back on the Lions.
I do have a Lions running back on I do have a start. Yeah, I got Gibbs.
You're going to win. You're going to win 30 points easy. That's what Dante got me last week.
Yeah, they're not facing Lamar this week. Give me the Lions.
No. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a very fun morning, and we've got an hour. Get some breakfast, enjoy the games today, and be sure to tune in next week here on Team NBS Media for Moving the Chains. I will see you guys then. Have a great Sunday.